Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Showing Up to Your Life podcast and YouTube channel. Art Burns here. And I want to say that I hope you're having a good day, but actually, I don't hope you're having a good day. As horrible as that might sound to you, let me explain. Because I don't want I don't want it to be up to luck and maybe it's a good day, maybe it's a bad day. Instead, what I hope that you are meeting each moment, each experience in this day, right? No matter what happens, this is a long day, right? Some good stuff might happen and some bad stuff might happen, right? And in all of it, I hope that you maintain equanimity and balance and equilibrium through all of it. Maintain your homeostasis, prevent yourself from getting, stressed through it. And how do we do that, right? This is an intentional thing that we can do. The first step is being present, right? Not ruminating over what happened yesterday or this morning or last week, and not forecasting and worrying about what's going to happen later or tomorrow or next week, but really grounding yourself in the present moment. That's the first step. Second step is to be accepting of what you find there. Okay? No matter how you want things to be, right? Accepting that this is the way things are. Right? Now, the third step is to meet each experience and to see each experience, to lead yourself through each experience with the eyes of compassion. So much of the difficulty that we experience as human beings comes from interpersonal interactions. Right? And so when you can see every person, every interaction through the eyes of compassion, now these things take time, they take practice. It's not that easy. Neither is presence and acceptance. That's why we practice, right? But when you can get to the point where you're meeting each experience, each person with a measure of compassion, well, then your stress and your difficulty is going to drop like a stone. It really is, like a stone thrown in the river. All right? And then the fourth and final aspect to this is just to be curious, right? Curiosity, as I've said here before, is the opposite of judgment. And curiosity allows us to be open, allows us to see the potential in whatever circumstances we find, right? It doesn't have to be exactly what we want it to be, and it also doesn't have to be the exact opposite of what we want it to be. It can just be, and we can learn from what is. And we can discover things about ourselves through that learning. So presence, acceptance, compassion, curiosity. That's what I hope for you today. And so last week, pardon me, I always brush my teeth before I do my recordings. I got a little bit of a toothpaste thing going on. It just gives me a fresh feeling to have a fresh, Anyway, I don't know why I'm sharing that with you. But anyway, last week I shared with you the name of a person who I found on Facebook. There's this Facebook group called Socially Distant Fest. And you can check it out. It's a great group. It's gotten a little bit more like karaoke kind of thing. And I don't know if that's because some of the real musicians now are out playing gigs, and so they're no longer on the Socially Distant Fest. But for the year and change of the true lockdown and the true pandemic, which is a little different from what we're experiencing now, it was all these really good musicians who would normally be playing on stages, right? They didn't have any of those gigs, right? And so this was a way for them not only to play their music for live people, even though they're over the internet, but also a way for them to, maybe get some donations and get a little bread to make it through the pandemic, right? And so it was a wonderful thing. I discovered it early on in the pandemic, and I really loved it. And one of the many amazing musicians that I found on here is this guy named Ben Chapman. Now he has this other thing on Bandcamp. If you go bandcamp.Ben Chapman or search that, you should find him, or go on Socially Distant Fest and find him there. great, beautiful songs this man writes and sings. Really, really beautiful stuff. And so, I mean, it's my style too. So I don't know, check it out. You might love it. You might not. Who knows? But anyway, one of the things that, so one of the parts of this Socially Distant Fest is that the people watching, can comment in on the live broadcast on Facebook, right? And so a lot of times the musicians will read these comments and say, oh, thank you. That was so kind of you. Thank you. That kind of stuff, right? And so I happen to be, and I usually don't watch these things live because I've got so much going on. I'll see it at like midnight when I'm going to bed. And I'm like, oh, listen to this song before I go to bed, that kind of thing, right? And so the other day, he was reading something that a person wrote, and it really struck me because the person had written something about like, your songs always make me cry or something like that, right? And then this beautiful man who writes these beautiful songs says, oh, wow. He says, but I don't make you cry. He says, that's just you getting in touch with your own feelings. Now, I mean, not only do I love this guy's music, but I love his mindfulness too, right? Because that's the truth, right? Like anything that I say, anything that I do, I mean, of course, now I could damage you, right? I could use my fists or a weapon of some sort and inflict a physical damage on you. Yes, we always have that potential impact on others, right? And something I might say could still trigger something in you, right? But that is different from saying that I made you feel any kind of emotion, right? I don't. The emotions that you feel, the emotions that I feel, the emotions that Ben Chapman in the UK feels are inside of you, inside of me, inside of Ben Chapman, right? And to a very enormous degree, and something that is very seldomly talked about, but very, very important, is that each of us, besides, only being in control and only really being impacted by our own feelings, right? But there's also the nature of our experience, right? Which is a very subjective nature, right? I am taking a course with Dr. Dan Siegel right now on interpersonal neurobiology. Awesome stuff. And one of the things that he talks about is that, this concept of the fact that my trigger, right, is not something that you are doing, right? Sorry, I just kind of lost my train of thought. It's going to come back, but the idea of this interpersonal neurobiology, right, is the fact that that I have an experience. You have an experience, right? And this is what I'm back now. Sorry. One of the things that Dr. Siegel talks about is the subjective personal experience, right? Which is the mind, right? It's very subjective, but he also talks about the felt sense of our moment-to-moment experience. And that is really, that just like what Mr. Chapman said, what Dr. Siegel said really hit me very, very strongly, right? Because, just consider that for a moment, right? The felt sense of my life, which is to say what it feels to be me, right? So when I get angry, or when I experience anger, which is a more appropriate and accurate way to describe it, right? When my body experiences anger, that is a certain and very specific feeling that I get from that. When your body experiences anger, that is a very specific and personal feeling that you get from that anger. Now, not only can we never say that your feeling is the same as my feeling, we can also never really truly communicate what my feeling and your feelings really are, right? It's this very mysterious thing, right? Because the aspect of it is that, even to describe it, right, is something that is kind of impossible in a certain way, right? Now, I mean, sure, there's great writers out there and poets, and they can kind of touch upon this, right? Like I might describe something about the feeling that resonates with you, right? But in the end, we have no idea what each other is really feeling, right? And this is a very important point, right? This is vital to understanding, what goes on in life, right? And so there might be, and so we can take this on a very broad spectrum kind of thing, and say that, okay, so if this person, this person is going to react to a financial issue in a certain way, whereas this person is going to react to a financial issue in a completely different way, right? Like that we can kind of determine, and some of that we can determine by what's gone on in these people's lives, right? Like if you had a life of scarcity, then money is always going to be a big deal for you. If you had a life of abundance, well, maybe it's not, or maybe vice versa. Maybe because you had a life of abundance, but you don't now it's a very high priority. That's all stuff we can figure out. But what the feeling is inside, not so much, right? Like you can't come into this body and feel what it feels like to be me. And I can't do that for you, right? And so in a very, very important way, right, this brings us to the ultimate dilemma of humanity, really, which is to say that there is only one person in the entire world, in the entire universe, there is only one person who you have any kind of control over, right? And that person, if it's not obvious to you, that person is you. You can't control someone else. You don't cause their emotions, and you can't control their actions. I mean, even if you talk about somebody in prison or something, you're not controlling their actions. You're limiting their actions, but you can't make someone do something. You can't do it. You can threaten somebody, right? You can say, if you don't do this, this is going to happen to you. And okay, I don't want that thing to happen to me, so I'm just going to make the choice to do it. But that is the person's choice to do it, right? So this is a very, very important understanding here, right? Because a lot of the times we walk around thinking like, well, if I could just get that person to do this differently, then we get along better. Right? Well, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Now, you can make the decision that, okay, I don't enjoy being around this person, and I'm going to make the personal choice to not be around this person because of these things they do, right? Like, and because they don't seem willing to change, right? And this can also be a discussion that can happen, right? Among a partnership of any kind, a marriage, which is a partnership of, any circumstance like that, we can discuss, right? I can say, hey, you know what? When you do that thing, it really hurts me, and I feel very uncomfortable, and I'm worried that this discomfort is going to get to the point where I can't be in this partnership anymore. Are you willing to try to change that thing for the sake of this partnership? Again, you have asked somebody to change, but you have not made them do anything. The choice is still theirs, right? And so I feel like this ties into this whole concept about, I don't make you cry. I don't make you smile. I don't make you do anything, right? I am putting something out there that you are responding to. And if your felt experience, in relationship to this thing, if your felt experience is such that you're going to cry at this moment because, in response to this thing that happened, right? Well, then I still didn't make you cry, right? Like, that's not how it works, right? Even if I insult you, the insult is up to you whether you allow that to become, something that elicits an emotional response. That's your choice. So this brings me up to a really interesting thing. I was on a hike the other day in this beautiful place out here we have called the Garden of the Gods. It's these like hundreds of millions of years old rock formations, and these just miles and miles of trails, and this just red clay, dirt trails, amazing, right? And so I was just out there. It just so happened that I had an afternoon all by myself, So I went there. Now, Garden of the Gods was very crowded. It's a very popular place where people go, but everybody stays around the big rock formations. Nobody takes the miles and miles of trail. So once I got out of felt like Disney World and Jurassic Park mashed up together somehow, with all these rocks. Once I got out of there, I was really alone, right? And that's what I was looking for. I just wanted to have some time to just, connect to nature, connect to myself. This is very, very, a very, very beneficial thing to do, by the way. And so as I was walking, one of the things that, kind of occurred to me, and it ties along with ties into what I'm saying here, is that, the personal, the deeply personal individual experience that we're having, right? So there was one of the trails was called the Hamp Trail, not Hamp, Hamp, right? And I don't know, for some reason that word, I was like, oh, that's a funny name. I didn't take the trail. I went on later on went on a different trail, the Buckskin Charlie Trail instead, right? But I saw Hamp Trail. And I was like, Hamp, what a strange word, right? It's not hamper. It's not hemp, it's hamp. And, maybe it's somebody's name or something like that. So I didn't dwell too much on that. But the concept of the hamper came up to my mind. And, maybe because I'm the guy who always does laundry in the house, maybe the word hamper really stands out to me. But there was an interesting thing that came up as I was considering this word, right? So if I was talking to my 10-year-old son, my son turned 10 years old the other day, by the way. He's really excited to be in double digits, calls himself a tween. I don't know if technically it's true or not, but we're going with it. Anyway, if I was talking to my 10-year-old son and I said, put your clothes in the hamper, right? He would know exactly what I mean, right? There's no question, I could also say to him that, you know what, dude, the fact that you're not, getting dressed and ready to leave is hampering our ability to get to the driving range and have a good time today. And he would understand what that means too, right? Now, same word, right? Hamper, same word, two completely different meanings. Based on what? Based on the context. Right? And so this now brings up another sort of interesting dilemma, right? And this is what the parts are going to bring it back to what I'm talking about here, right? It's not a lesson in linguistics here, but the interesting dilemma is what happens when we just see the word hamper on its own, right? Now it is up to you and entirely up to you to decide whether that means hamper as in this thing that I put my dirty clothes in, or it means hamper as in something that's going to cause a delay or a resistance or an obstacle of some kind, right? That choice is yours without the context, right? And so in a very similar way, and this can happen with a lot of words. It's not just hamper, right? Cold, right? You could talk about, knocking someone cold. You could talk about a cold drink. You could talk about a cold shoulder. You could talk about, a cold $6,000, right? These are all different meanings of the word cold. I mean, sure, they're more interrelated than the word hamper, but the English language is full of these things, right? And I was thinking about them all while I was on my heat is another one, right? Give him the heat is a pitching term, right? Heat could be to a cook. Give it some heat means put some spiciness into it, right? Again, they're just these common words that we could translate into many different contexts, right? And so without the context, it is up to you in terms of your felt experience to determine what that word means to you. Right? And that is the same thing when we're talking to each other, right? So when I say something that is so beautiful to you that you feel like you have to cry, right? That is the context within you that is making you want to cry at whatever I said. And the emotion could be whatever, right? If I said something that, that you felt angry in response to, or you felt joyous, or you felt excited, or you felt, afraid, whatever it is, right? That is the context within you that is making you feel that way, right? And so it's a very, very personal and very, very individualized thing. And this is important when we're talking about our interpersonal relationships, right? Because in a certain way, right, if we really look at it this way, then we can say that words are just words, right? And whatever it is that my partner, my friend, my romantic interest, whatever it is that this person says to me, right? It's just words. And I can assign to those words whatever context I want. Now, sure, there might be very clear intention, right? If somebody is telling me, I'm leaving you because you refuse to make your bed or something like that, well, then there's no difference in context to that, right? I'm talking about the more subtle things, right? I'm talking about the facial the facial expressions, right? I'm talking about so for instance, the facial expressions, right? We are, as human beings, we are constantly looking at each other's facial expressions to determine whether it's safe to be with this person or not, right? But those can be misread, right? I mean, that's the thing. And so it's just very important to remember, right? That when somebody is saying something, right, or somebody's look on their face seems to be something like, oh my gosh, and now of course there's two ways to use that facial, emotional recognition kind of thing, right? And so one is with a complete stranger, right? Like if I'm with somebody I've never met before and they got some kind of angry look on their face, then my nervous system is going to say, whoa, I'm backing off of this person. I don't know. I don't feel safe about this person. But if it's the face of your spouse who you've known for decades, and they have this angry look on their face, well, now all of a sudden, wait a second, something's out of context. And now I have the ability to regulate that, right? I don't have to react to the negative, the angry thing, right? Instead, I can maybe realize, with the thinking part of my brain, I can realize that, well, hold on a second. This is the person I've been married to for 20 years now. And they're just, so whatever this anger is that I'm feeling, it's something that's happening inside them, right? Like this anger that I'm perceiving on their face, something's going on inside them. It has nothing to do with me, right? And even though I might be the object, right, of this, I did not cause the anger. And the anger is not for me to hold on to, right? And this is where we come back to the idea that we experience the world in our own nervous system, right? There are times where, my wife could say the same thing to me, right? I think I told you the story the other day. I was sitting out with one of my clients, actually having a wonderful talk, and a Jeep passed by. That was the exact color of the Jeep that I used to have, this hunter green color, I think they call it. And it's exact with the tan top and the whole thing. I was like, wow, that looks just like my old Jeep. Because I was having such a good time, right, with my client, I was thinking, wow, I remember, driving out by the beach on my Jeep and how beautiful it used to be, and I could go anywhere. And there were times where, in the Shea Stadium where the New York Mets play baseball, they had every summer one night, they had Jeep Owner Appreciation Night. And so they set off a special area in the parking lot. They gave you a free T-shirt. I mean, these were awesome memories that I had about having this Jeep, right? But on another day, right, where if something's going not as well and I'm not feeling so happy and my nervous system is not in such a positive, excited place, well, then I might see the same Jeep. If I'm having a hard time with something, I might see the same Jeep and think, oh my gosh, what horrible gas mileage that thing used to get. And I remember, Friday afternoons trying to drive out to the beach from the city and all the traffic, and I didn't have air conditioning, and I felt like I was just roasting in that thing. I used to have to just take side roads just to get the air moving, and it took me 4 hours to get somewhere that should have been a 2-hour drive. These were horrible memories that I had. Nothing changed about the Jeep, right? Either the Jeep that I saw or the Jeep that I remembered. Nothing changed. No significant new information was given to me. It was just how my nervous system responded to it. So if there's any takeaway to today's episode here, it is this, that we have to realize that there's only one person in the whole world who we control, and that is us. And that's always the case. Always going to be the case. And so part of it is releasing the idea that you can control others, right? And just work on yourself, right? So if you're in a conflict with someone, right? I guess this is really the takeaway here, right? If you're in a conflict with someone, consider regulating yourself instead of thinking like, well, I need you to do this. Because that's the way we usually do it, right? We say, I need you to, clean up more. I need you to talk nicer. I need you to do this or do that, right? That's what I need you to do so that I can be more happy. Well, that's BS, right? What you need to do to be more happy is to just regulate your nervous system. What I need to do to be more happy is to regulate my nervous system. How do we regulate our nervous systems? I'm glad you asked. Through presence, through acceptance, through compassion, and through curiosity. Like how I brought that back? That was pretty slick. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this today. I know I talked about a lot here. So if you have any questions, you can email me, art@artburnscoaching.com, or you can book a call with me, and that would be the most fun way to do this, okay? In the description, there will be a link. You click, it says calendly.com, Art Burns Coaching or something like that, right? Click on that. You drop into my calendar, right? You look at my calendar. My whole thing's there. Now, Mondays and Tuesdays are blocked off because I don't work Mondays and Tuesdays most of the time. So you pick any Wednesday through Saturday, you click on the calendar day, and a bunch of times will open up. And those are the available times for a 45-minute talk. You simply click on, and then you enter like your name, your email address, and that's it, really. I think I asked, like, where'd you hear about this or something like that? Whatever. Don't answer that one if you don't want to. I don't think it's required. And if it is required, just put a letter in there. It doesn't matter. Just put Q or something. It doesn't matter, right? But if you follow those steps, you and I will have an appointment. And then, then your work is done at that point. Then all you got to do is show up with all of your authenticity and whatever questions and whatever feelings you have and whatever you want to work on. And that's your session. And I will take it from there. All right? So I hope I hear from some of you because I know I said a lot today and this is important stuff. So if there's anything that's not clear, please reach out. This is important, okay? This is really key to the whole thing. All right. And tomorrow I'm pulling an audible. I've actually, I've kind of changed what I'm going to do. Yeah, I've got a really important episode lined up for you tomorrow, and I'm really excited for it. As I'm excited for every day. So anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I wish you well. I'll be back again tomorrow. Take care, everybody.